little something like
Hello Literates, I'm Britt, this is my channel Britt Writerly, and you have entered an announcement video! Yes! Welcome! This is the second annual Missy Elliott Readathon, and we are so we are so excited. So this year is based off of Missy Elliott's first album. If you haven't listened to it, go ahead. I realized that I haven't actually listened to her first album. Like so many of the songs that I like know and love are not from her first album. So this is an experience for me to go back and listen to some of the songs that these prompts are based off of. So if you had the same or are about to have the same realization, then I would encourage you to go and give that beautiful album some play. Okay, so we're gonna hop right in. I'm gonna try to make this as possible. And I'm telling you right now, the prompts that are prompting this year, some of them are little head scratchers. So I will give y'all the list that I have so far so y'all can like go and get your own list started, and maybe I can be some inspiration. But I'm telling you, some of these, I'm like, wow, I'm interested to see what they come up with. So I'm not gonna give y'all like 5 books for each prompt. I'm just gonna give y'all some books that could prompt it. None of them are like new, which is, I think, is fine. But if you haven't read any of these books and they're not new, I would encourage you to go back and read them. If you're like, oh, there's also a new book that came out that I think would fit that prompt, definitely drop it in the comments. I'm always interested to grow my awareness of books, even if I read pretty much the same categories of like fantasy and romance, but I still like to know. Okay, so the prompts, there are 7, and then there are 2 group reads. So the 2 group reads can be used for several of the prompts. So I'll say the group reads first, and then I'll sort of try to remember to cue you as I introduce the prompts when the group reads will also satisfy that. Okay. So the 2 group reads are Clap When You Land by Elizabeth Acevedo, to no one's surprise, Cachet loves her. And the second group read is Africa Risen, which is a collection of sci-fi spec fic by diasporic Black writers, and it's edited by Renee, who is a well-known name in the game. So, and the cover is also beautiful. Hello. So those 2 books are the group reads, and they do satisfy multiple of the prompts. So let's get into them. The first prompt is Why You Hurt Me, and the prompt is a piece of shorter fiction by a Black author. So I would encourage you to get into some poetry, to get into some flash fiction published in like literary magazines like Fire, and others, but we know that my focus is on spec fic, so leave me alone. I would encourage you to get into some shorter pieces like that, even shorter than, you know, the typical short story that you might find published in an anthology. But also, there are lots of anthologies. There are Dark Matter, which is it's from 2000, but it's also edited by Renee. That's a collection of spec fic. It has folks like W.B. Du Bois, Thomas Delaney, Octavia Butler is also in there. It has like people, it's very broad. It's very broad. Jewel Gomez is in there, and also people who I've never really heard of. Like, oh, who is this person? So Dark Matter is a deep cut, but it's good to open you up to some really interesting spec fic that you have never seen before. So there's Dark Matter, there is Octavia's Brood, there is A Phoenix First Must Burn. I am definitely going to be reading The Memory Librarian by Janelle Monáe. I'm very excited. So I will definitely be reading that, but obviously Africa Risen would also satisfy this prompt. The second prompt is Izz Rizzy Ahh, and it is a book whose title is an onomatopoeia. I know. So the good news is, clap when you land. Desperate feel that. other than that, I really don't know what to tell y'all though. I'm really trying to think of any book that I know that start with like a bang or a ooh. And I just can't. I just don't. You feel me? I'm interested to hear what y'all say, because nothing came to mind. It took me a while to be like, oh wait, clap is an onomatopoeia, right? So clap when you land fulfills that, right? That took me some time to come to. But ta-da, we gave you one. I would really love to hear what y'all come up with other than clap when you land though. Okay, number 3. Hit 'em with the he, a strong black female lead. So, I mean, there are many. That's almost really all I read. So, I mean, take your pick. There are sure to be some in Africa Risen. You have 2 black leads in Clap When You Land. You have, I mean, of the books I've even read the past couple of years, Raybearer, Wings of Ebony, I almost said the Gilded Ones. Yes, the Gilded Ones. Beast of Prey. Like, we have lots of strong black female leads. Read anything by N.K. Jemisin, you're going to find a strong black female lead. So, I mean, I think read any black romance, right? You'll find a strong black female lead. Although, not any, because some of these girls be out here like the opposite of strong and not in a good, redemptive, soft life kind of way. But you can find a strong black female lead if you just like look to the left, look to the right on any day that ends with Y. Okay, so the 4th prompt is Pass the Blunt, a book recommended to you by a black person. So I'm black. Hi, surprise, surprise. And I know that a book I've recommended to all of y'all over and over is And This Is How to Stay Alive by Shingai and Jiri Kagunda. So I definitely would say that. Also, you know, I totally blew the horn toot toot on Toot Toot by Brittany S. Lewis. If you're new to this channel, you don't know what Toot Toot is. Toot Toot is how I have lovingly dubbed The Undead Truth of Us, which is the speculative fiction debut, well, spec-fic horror YA debut of Brittany S. Lewis, whose 2nd book is coming out this year in August, I believe. The Dark Place. Don't quote me on that, but her 2nd book is coming out this year. So Tutu is her 1st book. I was very loud about that, so take that as a rec if you would like. Yeah. And also, I recommended you several books for other prompts. So take any of those if you are sparse on black people recommending you books. Although, you know, go anywhere else on BookTube and you'll find more of the same. So the 5th prompt, Best Friends, a book co-authored by 2 black people. So, you know, anthologies. Boom, you're welcome. And I've already listed several anthologies for the first one. So... And you obviously, you know, per usual, you can stack prompts. So you can 1 and 5, you could really knock those out at the same time if you want. If you want to do them all separately, that's fine too. 6, I'm Talkin, a book in a style you're not used to. Here's where I will give you some very specific recs. So for me, I typically read romance and fantasy spec fic. But here's some, I just pulled some titles that maybe are outside of what y'all usually read. So Black Girl Call Home by Jasmine Mans, which is a collection of poetry. The Sobbing School by Joshua Bennett also is poetry. I'm just saying, 'cause I'm like, I know that most people I recommend to y'all are women, and I'm like, let me put some men in here. So also Joshua Bennett, The Sobbing School. Dessa Rose by Shirley Ann Williams, which is a neo-slave narrative. So if you don't really read neo-slave narratives, that could be a style you're not used to. There you go. And then 3rd and finally, Dust Tracks on a Road by Zora Neale Hurston. Obviously, that's, you know, an older book, but readathons are a great chance to read older books, not just new releases. And Dust Tracks on the Road is probably the only biography I've ever read that I've actually really enjoyed. Zora Neale Hurston led a very interesting life. She was very funny. Historians have come back and been like, this autobiography is not even accurate. Like, she lied about her age in particular parts, or this thing didn't happen. That makes it funnier to me. Am I alone? Am I alone? I love Death Tracks on the Road. So those are just 3 categories: poetry, neo-slave narrative, and autobiography, that maybe if you don't read in them usually, this was the chance for you to read outside of that. Those are 3 recommendations for you. And then the final prompt is Gettaway, a book not set in the US or the UK. So, and This Is How to Stay Alive is not set in either of those places. I forgot to look up where exactly it is, and I'm sorry if I don't remember, but it's set in an African country. I just don't remember which one. I don't want to guess because I'm going to get it wrong. I haven't picked that book up in a few months. But, and This Is How to Stay Alive is definitely not in the US or in the UK. Clap When You Land is also half set in the Dominican Republic, I believe. Africa Risen is all over the diaspora, so there's that as well. Also, An Unkindness of Ghost by River Solomon is set in outer space, so there's that. And then there's also that book that we read several years ago with Chloe and the gang, and what is that called? Escaping Exodus by Nikki Drayden, which is also a space opera. So you got options. You can get creative. It can be like on Earth, US, not US, UK, or it could be in outer space, not US, not UK. So get creative. But anyway, those are the prompts. Those are a couple of inroads to completing those prompts. Again, you could stack prompts. They do not all have to be, novels. You're invited to read short stories in shorter form. Writing, storytelling, we always encourage that. So, the offer still stands. Definitely, if you're going to make a list, if you're making a video, definitely tag Shay for sure. But it would be great if you could also tag me, tag Deidra, and tag Dejana. We are all co-hosting with Cachet. And whether it's on YouTube or on socials, tagging us would be so great. We would love to see what y'all are reading, because we're exactly. And we would love to boost your Rex also. So thank you in advance for participating. And if you have any burning Rex that you want to add to my list for any of these prompts in the comments, definitely comment that. Otherwise, you can just tell me, like, are you participating in the Missy Elliott Readathon? Are there any other readathons you're participating in? Let us know. Until then, that is all I have. Bye bye.